You were listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin Raphael McManus.
It's good to be here with you today.
It is good to be here.
I thought we should try to do a little bit of Elizabeth Holmes here and go with deeper voices.
Wait, you've been really on Elizabeth Holmes. But I've actually never really. She's the
fake Steve Jobs.
She tried to build a tech company
without using any tech. It's a really brilliant idea.
Okay.
She tried to build a medical company without knowing anything about medicine.
It seems like a theme. Like there's the Tinder swindler. There was Making Anna.
Yeah.
And then there's Elizabeth Holmes. But
Anna's voice was super high and Elizabeth's voice was super low. And you can actually watch how, as she develops her persona, her voice goes deeper and deeper and deeper.
Okay, so here we go. So we want to talk about all the things today, and Elizabeth Holmes is not one of them. So we want to talk about maybe a little bit of dating, and I was just roasting someone on Instagram for posting something that was just so cringe, it made my heart hurt. So I was just using,
But someone thought you would appreciate it because they tagged you on it.
No, I don't think they appreciated it. I think it's like some joker comedian girl trying to be a comedian in LA. But girls do this all the time. I see it on TikTok, right? Girls will screenshot guys on Hinge or a dating webs.
Okay, for someone who's been married for nearly 40 years, what is Hinge?
Okay, so
I'm sorry that I'm not updated.
There's Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and then Raya. Tinder, nasty. Bumble, ladies have the power. Hinge, it's supposed to be like you're meeting people through like your natural contacts.
Okay.
That one seems fine. Raya is like exclusive. It's like Soho House. You have to be like accepted as like a membership thing. And you have to you pay like a monthly thing, I think. And then it's like more like it's supposed to be like celebrity elite kind of thing.
Okay, so you have to be accepted.
Accepted for Hinge. Anyone can be on the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, but you gotta be nasty to be on Tinder, apparently.
Okay.
I'm just the old culture for Tinder, I think, was nasty.
All right.
But this girl posts a photo of a guy, and he had like a cap low, like kind of how me and Carlos used to put our hats back in the day, like 2016, 2017.
All right.
When we had like shaved heads and we would, real low caps. And I guess she like tagged me, said, "Where's Aaron at?" to confirm that this looks like a Mosaic Venice guy. And like roasting him.
But Mosaic Venice hasn't met in nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
So you're still responsible for people's lives from 3
years
ago.
But Hinge is not bad. People should be able to date. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You go to Red Lobster to eat lobster. you go on Hinge to find somebody you want to be with.
Yeah. So I don't understand. What was she making fun of though?
But she was like, "Oh, I do Hinge Chronicles," and I'm like, "You shouldn't. That's cringe. Like let this man be alone. Let him find somebody."
He's already alone. That's why he's on Hinge.
But then tag him. Let him get his. But it's also just, it creates a bad culture of like you just shaming someone for putting themselves out there and wanting to date. Let him find.
So what was she making fun of?
Her. What?
That he was on Hinge, or that or how he was doing Hinge.
She was making fun of. Her like defense was like, "Oh, if I thought it was offensive, I wouldn't be posting like this." I was like, "Look, if men screenshotted women's photos on Hinge and posted them and blasted them, they would." Tess, please chime in.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Well, I know, but what am I correct about?
Let's just say, if you were to post a screenshot about a woman, people would blow you up. It would no longer be about the very topic that you're trying to talk about. It would be about you doing the wrong thing.
It would be like your host shaming this girl for being out there.
Yes.
And that's not wrong. It's okay to be out there, to want to date, right?
Correct.
No? Yes, as long as you're not married.
Right. Yeah.
And,
that's real.
Yeah.
I think there's some married people on there.
But I'm saying
that's a different app.
Yeah,
that's called Field, and now it's a nasty app. We don't talk about that one.
But all right, so this poor guy is trying to get a date. He goes to Hinge, so he has to make it public.
Poor guy? No, he's not a poor guy. He's an independent man. He's out there. The photo was fine. It was cheesy, but it was fine.
Sorry, yes, I did not imply just because someone's on Hinge, they're a pitiful guy.
I have been on there. I put myself out there. You meet nice people. I just think
some girl screenshotted you and mocked you.
Oh man, if they did, it would be. I'm sure they'll look. I'm sure they'll look.
Right, but why make fun of anyone if they're putting themselves out there trying to find someone that they can love and be loved and have a relationship? And
I don't know. I don't know why people get involved with other people's dating lives like that. I just like let people find romance.
Yeah.
Let them find people, you know? I don't know. I just think let my man's he was kneeling. He was kneeling on one knee. And he had his hat real low and it was a Raiders hat. So that's how you know he wasn't one of my friends. Not that in a bad way, because my friends don't support the Raiders.
all right.
But he's probably from LA. He's like old school LA, the Oakland Raiders fan, LA Raiders fan. I'm saying my friends are Clipper fans.
Or Rams fans.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know anybody that wears Rams hats. Do you?
Well, I mean, all the Rams players.
Anyways,
and
maybe
my
he's
friend Edwin, he's all about the Rams.
He is.
And his
He is.
kids, and
They won the Super Bowl.
yeah, it's
Okay.
amazing. All right, so let's move on. And by the way, since we began with Elizabeth Holmes and we went to dating, watch out for people with crazy eyes.
I just had a lot of I think I just had a lot of crazy eyes during this.
Because like I'm looking at Elizabeth Holmes and I had documentaries over the past couple of years and going, she got crazy eyes. I mean, can't you look at her and know that you should not be having a conversation with her because she's going to eat you later? I mean,
No.
and she has those insane eyes. And beware of anyone whose eyes are so wide open and they never blink.
Yeah.
There's something like psychologically tormented happening behind the scenes. But
So that's
anyway.
one thing.
Yeah.
So any other dramas that we got to get out of the way?
Oh my gosh. We had a little drama with intellectual property
Oh, we did 2 weeks ago.
a couple of weeks ago.
We
and I'm
did.
not going to throw anyone under the bus.
I'll throw
No,
him.
I don't want to throw him under the bus. I just want to talk about it and why
I'm gonna find the DM that I sent him.
why it's important to respect each other's intellectual property. And I know this doesn't relate to everyone. Everyone listening right now probably doesn't have to deal with IP, but it goes in so many different directions. Like I've had friends who would wear like fake brands. You know, they'd wear like fake Gucci or they wear fake Yves Saint Laurent or fake Louis Vuitton, and some of them were people that I had a relationship with, and I would say to them, "This is called stealing," and
It's called creative licensing.
yeah, and I remember when I used to fly to Hong Kong 20 years ago, and I could buy a Louis Vuitton bag for
We call those fooies.
for $40.
We call them fooies, fake Louis.
And then some of them actually come from the actual factories, and they're slipped out and sold in underground markets.
Because there is a whole economy where like you got like the uncle who runs the factory, and then he like makes a little extra, and then he throws them to the cousin, and they sell them in the city.
Yeah.
There's some real fake ones. Tess says I have some.
But
Tess says she has some. not
but
me.
as a designer, I
My Feline.
Her fake Fellini. It's a Fellini.
and
The messed up one is the Gucci. It's the Fucci.
yeah. I remember I actually bought and gave a pair of Gucci's to a speaker who was always wearing fake Gucci's, because I said, "Hey, stop wearing the fake stuff.
Yeah.
Here, I'm buying you something. You can wear this, but respect the brands. This is the creative capital of people, and whether you agree with how much they charge or not,
Yeah.
you don't have to buy it, but don't steal it. Don't legitimize stealing someone else's creativity, their design, their IP,
Yeah.
just because you can't afford it. And so then it's also true, like I write books, and so I've had to deal with this for decades.
There's quite a few books out there
Yeah.
that were built on messages that you spoke at an event or in a conference, and then
Yeah.
someone turned into a book quicker than you. You never even thought of turning that into a book. It was just an idea or a concept you
Yeah.
spoke. You're on to the next one.
And I've had
Someone
writers tell
turned
me,
it.
"Hey,
Thank you.
What?
They said thank you.
Yeah, they thought, "Hey, look, I listened to you, and I just steal your ideas and write them into books." And oddly enough, in the world that we live in, people think that's okay, that's a compliment,
Yeah.
rather than. But one time, even here in the industry, someone was driving to shoot a film, and they said, "Hey, we're on our way to the set, and we just thought we'd tell you we took the idea, the story that you told, on Mosaic, and we're turning that into a film.
Was it a good film?
I'm not going to go into details. And I said,
Was it recent?
no, this was years ago. And I said, what? And they said, yeah, we just wanted to tell you as we're going to set. And I said, wait a minute, you stole my story, which is my life. Like, this wasn't a story I made up. This was the actual experience of my life. And they were so inspired by the experience, they decided to turn it into a script and then turn it into a film. And
I mean, we've heard of such things where we've heard that
yeah.
that speakers were speaking not just your exact points in your message, but telling your actual stories as if they were their stories.
Yeah, and this is
which is
yeah,
that to me is just bizarre.
A guy in Ecuador, he didn't know any better. He was kind of new to the whole faith experience. Sent me a text, go, hey, this is so amazing. There's this really famous
we
pastor.
Know him?
No,
Oh, we don't know.
He goes, there's this really famous pastor, and he just preached your message verbatim on the last arrow.
Yeah.
And I said, what? And I went and looked at it on site. He has a church of, tens of thousands of people. He's internationally known in the Latin world. And he took my entire message and preached it as if it was his message.
He had cancer too?
And even with the stories.
With the cancer stories?
And everything was almost an exact duplication. And
the whole book is, the crux of the book is that you had cancer and that you're like facing death and how you give everything to the death.
And at one point he goes, and I kept thinking, I quit. No, I failed and I failed and I failed. But then I realized all of a sudden that I didn't fail. I quit. And he said exactly the way I say it. And so I'm listening to this message going, this person has literally somehow stolen the very essence of my being, not just the words,
you're not
the entire message.
You're not just a speaker, you're a playwright. That was a performance.
That was a performance. It was
that deserves a
theatrical performance.
That deserves a Tony Award.
So I've dealt with this for 40 years of ideas being stolen, of breakthrough concepts being stolen, of book ideas being copped. But a couple of weeks ago, and this is interesting because on the podcast, you were asking me some really, really tough questions. And it drove me to the place where I began to have to look for different ways of explaining God. And so I did this whole concept on God is zero. And it's a concept that is uniquely created in the space of my own brain. And now the concept of zero is not something I invented or discovered. And I talked about how all the way back to the Babylonians and ancient civilizations, zero has always been something that different civilizations have grappled with. And when the concept of zero really became more concretized in the last few centuries,
did you say concretized?
Like it made concrete, sorry.
Concretized?
I don't know. I just made that up as a word.
Yeah, you did. Thank you, George W.
Yeah, but no. Okay, here's. Let's just have a little parenthetical moment.
Okay.
Where do words come from?
The imagination.
That's right. And so just because someone's never said the word before doesn't mean it's not a word.
Look, you don't have to say it to me. I say that all the time. Someone said you spelled it wrong. I said, no, I made it better.
It is, for the record, a word.
Thank you so much.
Concretize? Yeah. Did you say it with an S or a Z?
You're going to talk to a person.
I never heard it.
My art form is words, and you're going to question me.
I'm not. Of course, I'm going to. No, why? Who else would I question? I would question you so you could teach me. I want to learn.
Oh.
I've always been this way. Ever since I was little.
Yeah.
I have never heard that word. Can you tell me what that word means?
That's true.
And
You've always been like that, and I've explained the word to you. And your mom's approach is always different. That isn't a word. You're making it up.
Yeah. If my mom doesn't know the word, it's not a word.
That's right. But the concept God is zero
kind of like the California government, but we could talk about that later.
Is a unique concept that I put together to help people understand who God is.
Well, can I set the stage a little bit more?
No, let me go back, because that day when we actually recorded it, when we were done, we had a conversation here, you and me and Brooke and Austin, about whether we should release the podcast, because we said the moment I release it, someone's going to steal the idea and make it seem like it's theirs. And they said, maybe you should wait till you write it or wait till you do it on Easter or something like that. Yeah. So that because where it comes from actually matters. We can talk more about that. And I said,
where it comes from, meaning the original idea and where the original idea comes from.
Yeah.
Okay. So
go ahead.
Can I set the stage?
Sure.
We got sent a podcast, I think on Spotify, of a message from a speaker in the South. I'm not going to name him. It doesn't matter. We're all good.
I want to talk about the concept, not the person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you're a better man than I am. because I want to talk about him, but we're not going to talk about him. I'm just going to talk around him. But basically, I got sent this podcast. I listened to the message. I listened to the last like 10 minutes, and there was no question. He got the idea from you of God is zero and connected this idea of the value of zero to the connection to God.
Yeah.
And he presented it okay. I don't like love the way he presented it. He kind of used it as like a footnote, and I really feel like it was a kind of a crux of a conversation. And it's a pretty large concept to grapple with and to also like build something around. So I don't blame him.
Which, by the way, is one of the reasons I don't like when people steal intellectual property, because they turn it into a vaccine rather than a cure.
Interesting.
Because they communicate in a way that is inadequate. So now a person feels, oh, I've already heard that idea. So when you bring it to actually help a person have a breakthrough, it doesn't work.
Right. So I hit him up on Battle Ready, and I was like, what did I say?
But it wasn't us. It was someone listened to him and sent it to one of our people, Brooke, and said, hey, this person just stole Erwin's idea. And then Brooke sent it to you and said, hey, this person just stole Erwin's idea. So
I hit him up.
It came through a domino effect.
I don't like go out there and I don't listen to other pastors. I don't go out there and listen and try to find out who's, stealing cookies from the cookie jar. But we found you. I said, hi, I've been getting DMs mentioning that you used Erwin's God is zero metaphor during your message. Of course, I wanted to check in with you to find out where you sourced the idea before proceeding in a response. Mostly, I just don't want to accuse. I just want to have a conversation. And they said this, and this is what I want to talk about, because I think, is it okay if I preface? Or do you want me to not read?
No, go. Yeah, good. That's good.
And they said, thanks for reaching out. They were really kind. They sent a long message, which usually, the longer the message, the smaller the truth.
Oh my gosh.
I know, because when I was little and you lie long.
A fluffy lie.
You lie long. Truth small. Lie big.
Yeah, if it's the truth, you go, no, I didn't do it. Or yes, I did.
But by no means am I calling this person a liar. I'm just saying, I think when you have to...
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So longer thing. He said, thanks for reaching out. He basically said the original idea was inspired by Robert Kaplan's Harvard mathematics professor book, The Nothing That Is, A Natural History of Zero, Oxford University Press 2000. In our sermon content meeting, I was talking about using this in relationship to the value of factoring God into your life, and one of our staff members later sent me the clip of the conversation from your podcast. I recently watched the whole thing. It was fantastic. Guessing why you're wondering why I didn't cite your source. Believe it or not, I actually considered it and was going to cite Kaplan, but he doesn't really make the connection to God. Clearly, I borrowed Erwin's language, but I assumed this was his influence as well, but I might have assumed that in error. He keeps going, but he basically says he's a fan, he loves you, and he loves the podcast. This is why we're not roasting him. This is a fun roast.
Yeah.
It's a barbecue.
And because
Barbecues
this
are friends.
seems like a really great human being.
Seems like a great human. But this is the distinction, right? Because then I called you and I was like, okay, so...
I wasn't upset until I saw his response.
Why? No, you weren't really upset. You're just like, oh, can you look into this?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Because I knew it was going to happen.
Okay.
So I was already ready for it. And it's just so much easier if you hear a concept that has an impact on you that is rare and that came from another source, to just source that person. It doesn't diminish you when you actually reference where the idea came from.
It doesn't make you less.
No, but when he goes through this whole thing with Kaplan, I'm going, see, that's a bait and switch. That's here's the smoke because I don't want you to see the fire.
Yeah.
Because Kaplan did not come up with the idea of God is zero. One, I didn't read Kaplan. Two, I'd never heard of Kaplan until I heard this response.
Yes.
I was going back to the ancient Babylonians, Mesopotamian civilizations, and because zero is a concept everyone learns. All right, so when he's saying, hey, Kaplan came up with the idea of zero, actually didn't. Like, you don't even need to read Kaplan.
He comes up with an explanation of zero. That's what he's talking about, right?
But everyone learned zero in like first grade.
Right.
So to talk about zero is not like an intellectual property breakthrough.
Right.
And it's the philosophical construct of explaining God is zero that is uniquely mine. And he doesn't acknowledge that. He says, I thought about mentioning Kaplan.
Which,
that kind of irritated me.
Okay. So that definitely irritated me. But I actually listened to part of the podcast.
Okay, I hadn't heard
and
it.
he cites his senior pastor a few times before he jumps into borrowing your intellectual property. So I thought it was interesting. He's fine citing his senior pastor, his boss, but he's not okay citing the origin of the idea, or the person who actually gave the idea originally. And I just think, what is it about us? Well, I don't steal. I steal your ideas, but they know they aren't my ideas. And usually I just preface this by like, hey, by the way, these were his. This is the cookie jar we're eating cookies from. But I found it a bit, that's why I didn't agree with his explanation, because I was like, I listened to you. I actually heard that you cited your senior pastor for some of his thoughts and ideas. So why didn't you actually cite where this originally came from? And that bothers me because it lessens ourselves. It demeans our own. I think it's the easy way out.
Yeah.
You know, it's the easy way out. And I think, why do you think, I mean, we always want to sound smarter, but why are we unwilling to cite the source?
Well, I just think that we like to pretend we're the source all the time, you know, and let me tell you from my side of it why this is so frustrating. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I spoke at the Willow Creek Leadership Summit years ago.
Wait. Let's go into that idea real quick.
Okay.
Why is it that we feel the need to sound smarter than we are? Because
it's pride.
Because my thing is this, like if I'm this guy, I'm speaking it, I'm going, I'm telling the story of me being the observer listening to this situation. Because one, we know it's not his idea because Kaplan never made the connection to God. He establishes that. So he listened to your podcast before we spoke because there's no way he made that connection. Maybe, but I don't think so, right? So why do we take the easy way out? Why do we need to make it sound like we came up with the idea versus, like for me, I always love comedy on that side. I would have told the idea, but like from the perspective of me watching the idea unfold and my brain melting.
But it's in the Christian world where for decades people steal each other's jokes. Okay. And they tell jokes as if they're originally theirs.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I became a person of faith, I heard a joke and I thought, oh, that's hilarious. And then I heard it again. And then I heard it again. I realized, oh, these things didn't happen to these people. These are like the cultural jokes that everyone tells.
What is it called? The preacher's tales.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah. And so
God did it.
Yeah, yeah.
God did it.
Yeah, yeah. Even so, then it's not just the jokes; it's like the concepts. Yeah, And you think, oh, my pastor came up with this concept, but it's 10,000 other people have preached this exact same concept, and so I just think the lack of originality is a part of the Christian culture. And what you don't realize is that building on someone else's idea doesn't make you unoriginal. Building on someone else's idea makes you a person who learns.
Yeah.
It's trying to act like you've built the idea from scratch that actually will limit you in the long run. And I do want to say this because I spoke at the summit one time, and then that next Sunday I spoke somewhere else right after the summit. No, 2 weeks Sundays after. And this woman comes up to me and says, "You stole that message from my pastor."
That was yeah, I remember this.
And I said, "What?" And she goes, and my message was uniquely mine. She goes, "You stole that message from my pastor, and my pastor is internationally famous, and he speaks all over the world." And
where were you?
I was in Florida, but her pastor was in Atlanta. And
this guy's from Atlanta.
And I did not want to say to her, "Your pastor stole my message."
Yeah, no, that's tough.
I felt like
why though?
Well, because I felt like she's going to that church and she needs to grow and she's just barely meeting me, and it's okay if she thinks less of me.
No.
And that's how I felt in that moment.
No one.
That's just the framework I took into that moment years ago. I'm just saying that I didn't want to diminish him in her sight.
Yeah.
And I had to just sort of swallow this fact that this man was. Oh, I said to her, "Was your pastor at the Willow Creek Leadership Summit in Chicago last Wednesday?" She goes, "Yes, he was." And
ask him where he was sitting.
And
I was talking.
I said, "Oh," and I said, "If you have a chance, just tell him I said hello."
Oh, dang.
And so it was a different way of letting him know, hey, what you did is not ethical. Right. Because it makes me look like I'm a thief. You're as well as I do. We were in Scandinavia. And
that was rough.
I spoke a message that, again, the concepts were uniquely mine.
No, but this one was bad.
And I built an entire framework out of a passage in Genesis around, Adam saying to God, we were naked and ashamed. So we had, and I have a whole talk about, who told
you were naked?
Who told you were naked? And I did it at a massive conference for Hillsong, I think, in Sydney. And then I go to this conference in whatever, Sweden or Norway, wherever. And
you're in Copenhagen.
And afterwards, the pastor said, something about it. It's amazing because we just had a speaker here.
No. We didn't even get to it. You never spoke it.
No, I did do that.
No, I don't think so. No, you didn't. No, okay, here. I think I remember different. You did it in Sweden. And then we flew from Sweden to Copenhagen, and we're in the car, and he's like, "Oh, what message did you do in Sweden?
Oh, yeah.
What message are you going to do?"
Mm-hmm.
You're like, "Oh, I think I'm going to do this message called Naked and Unashamed, talking about David and and dancing in the streets naked." And he goes, "That's crazy. This person just spoke that message here 2 weeks ago."
And I realized this person was traveling around speaking my message. And so it makes it look like
hit the Cash App. Hit the Venmo.
It makes it look like I'm a thief. And part of the difficulty is that my messaging is very unique. It's very distinctive. In a world where messages are, let's say, blue, my messages are yellow. And so when you take my message, it seems like I stole it because it's very obvious.
It makes speakers look really bad.
Yeah.
It makes you look bad because if you're the person that comes later, everyone's like going in that room going, "Oh, okay, well imagine if he never asked what you were going to talk on."
No, I mean, I had a pastor call me. I was about to speak at a conference. He was speaking there too. And I have to say, at least he did this.
He called you and
told you. He called me up and said, "Hey, we're both speaking at the same conference. I didn't realize you're speaking right after me. I was planning to do your message and on an unstoppable force." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "I just wanted to make sure it was okay."
Had Unstoppable Force just come out?
No, it'd come out many years before.
Well before, okay.
Yeah.
So he was kind of going to the archives.
Yeah, but for him, it might have been new, And he goes, "I was going to do this message, and I just wanted to make sure you're not going to do the same message."
Okay.
And, his church was, 10 times bigger than ours, right? And I said, "Hey, I'm really honored and complimented that you want to take my message across the world, but don't you have a message that's uniquely yours that you could use at the conference rather than using mine?"
Yeah.
Because if you use my message before I speak, it'll sound like I'm stealing from your ideas when I speak afterwards, even if I do a different message because the language is uniquely mine. Some
people are listening going, "It's all God's. It's all the churches. Why air out the dirty laundry?" But I imagine.
But when someone breaks into your house and steals your watch or steals your money or steals your furniture, you don't go, "It's all God's." You go, "God helped me have that, but it was mine."
Interesting. So
they steal your car, you don't go, "Well, it's God, so I don't need to get it back."
You would compare it to someone robbing your house.
Yes, because I create my life, create the future that I imagine, and build a better world through my ideas. I don't build boats. I don't build televisions. I don't build technology.
Yeah.
My gift to the world are the uniqueness of my ideas.
Okay. I have two thoughts.
One is that okay that I say that?
Yes. Yes. No, because I think, well, initial thought.
Yeah.
Based off of this situation.
Yeah.
And you have to, our conversation was interesting. I reached out because I just want him to know we know. I also want to reach out going probably should cite. And I think he understood that. And I didn't really respond. I just, but it is what it is. I by no means want this to be us blasting him because that's why we're not saying his name or where he's at.
No, but I thought talking about intellectual property is kind of a good conversation to have.
I think it is because I think the goal, I think some people put the goal of, the goal for speaking and have, I think people want to speak at conferences and speak at other places and have that right before they have the original thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have the original thoughts. If you have nothing new to say, don't try to say nothing new everywhere. Don't try and give the lack of originality and try to go and do the circuit or whatever it is. Take the time and be original.
Yeah, one of my friends, John Gordon, said he was influenced by a massive number of my thoughts and ideas, and he wanted to write a book expressing that to his friends.
Yeah.
So he wrote a book called The Garden. It's a fictional It's a fable.
Yeah, it's fable.
So the main character in his fable is Mr. Irwin.
Oh, no way.
And he said the reason he made the character Mr. Irwin so that, and then he basically expresses the book is informed by me.
Yeah.
He goes, I just want to make sure everyone knew that the ideas that I was using
but he's
were
also
from you.
He's also a New York Times bestseller, and then he dropped a fat check off and said, "Thank you for everything you've given me."
Yeah, he basically so John Gordon, you just keep writing books, you use my name all you want.
But I think I don't want to air that out, but I think he does it the right way.
Yes.
He has the relationship. He says it. He has can I use this? Can I do this? I have this idea. Can I do it? And then, hey, also I'm giving, I'm helping build what you're building.
Yes.
It's just that he's not like, this is mine now. I'm taking what you have and this is mine. I'm taking what you have and this is mine and now this is ours.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything he's made from that book he gave to Mosaic.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so this is my idea. We have to create some kind of app or some kind of forum where people can subscribe and steal your ideas.
Well, that's what I thought. Okay, so one of the reasons we did release the podcast is because I do believe in being generous with ideas and fertilizing the world with ideas. And I can say ideas I had 40 years ago that were violently rejected are now
like what?
Like every human being is an artist. Everyone is a creative.
Ideas. Or Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, like there's nothing new under the sun. That was wrong.
That one gets me every time.
And I had ideas 30, 20, 40 years ago that now are commonly believed, and they're commonly accepted, even in the secular world.
Right.
And now Adidas talks about that every athlete is an artist.
Yeah.
This is the language that 40 years ago I was pretty much singularly using across the world.
Send us that check, Adidas.
And
I'm just kidding.
And so when I see massive shifts in culture and language, I feel like we've had great success.
Yeah.
And when the church now begins to see itself as a creative enterprise, as a place that is a movement of dreamers and creators and and innovators, I feel like that's the goal I had all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think that it'd be really interesting maybe to create like a space where I just basically invite people to come in and just download a million different ideas. Because for me, ideas are like baby turtles. I just have thousands of them, and some of them live, some of them die. I just let them go crazy.
But like a sad episode of Nat Geo, Animal Planet.
And I realize a lot of most speakers and pastors are like giving births to elephants. Like they have one idea, it takes them a whole year.
The process is long.
And when they give birth to the idea, it's a labor of love.
Okay, so how do we help? Because I think there's a need. There's a need for originality, a need for new ideas. And I think some people are, I do think some people are not creators.
Yeah.
I think they have creativity, and their expression is the way that they can bring an idea that's already been created to other people.
And sometimes they're refiners, right? They're really good at refining an idea that exists.
Yeah. And so I think, and you talk about this a lot, because I think this is a conversation you've had with people. You had this with Rob Bell, you've had this with me, you had this with a lot of people who you thought should write books but haven't yet. You talk about you want to be remembered forever. Write books.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it in the Bible, Apollos to Paul. Apollos was the guy that Paul talked about being jealous of, and yet no one really talks about him except for Paul.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone talks about Paul and the words that he wrote. And he apparently wasn't a great communicator, but he was actually a great writer. Right?
A great thinker.
He left his legacy in his thoughts and his words, right? And so, I think there's okay, we're gonna set the stage, because we're gonna create that idea theft. What are we gonna call it? Steal this, please. Steal this book.
Oh no! Steal
this idea.
Steal this idea.
Oh my gosh! Please get
that should be our podcast this week.
Steal this idea.
Because I give away thousands of ideas I want you to steal.
Yes.
And I want to be a Johnny Appleseed of new thoughts.
Just popping apple seeds.
Give the world. But it doesn't diminish you when you get a new idea to reference it. And a part of the reason it's important is that when you only steal the idea, you're staying on the surface. And you don't position yourself to go deeper and deeper and deeper in thought.
Here's my idea. Steal this idea, which is a ripoff of the Aaron Sorkin movie about the Chicago 13. Is that what it is? What was the Netflix movie that came out during COVID? The Chicago 11?
7, I think.
Chicago 7.
The Chicago 7. And one of the guys was an activist that wrote a book and released it, said, steal this book. And so they only have a certain amount of recorded sales for that book because so many people were stealing the books and leaving. He was kind of writing towards like the hippie activist socialist movement in the US at the time and like anti-war movement. But I love that. Let's reference that and talk about stealing this idea. But here's the thing. I think that needs to be the next installment of the masterclass series that you're working on right now. In 2 weeks' time, we haven't really talked about this. You're releasing a masterclass.
Is it that soon?
It's that soon.
It's taken us 2 years, and now it's coming.
1 year. Sir.
Okay.
Good day, sir. 1 year.
Austin, how long has it taken us?
I plead the 5th on this one.
Austin, this is on you. So.
This is literally your job.
I need to hear your microphone, Austin. I can't hear you. I want to hear your heart beating.
Oh, man. I plead the 5th on this one, sir.
I just know it's the middle of COVID that we recorded this.
We did. Was
Middle
this
of quarantine.
2020 or 2021?
I'd have to check the date on the footage. That's
I
kind
think
of all a blur.
I think it is
2020.
2020.
It's been 2 years.
Yes, we record this in 2020.
I hate myself right now.
I think it's been like a year and a half.
Yeah.
You'd be like, it's only been like 13 months.
And I know it's because 2020 represents the 20 pounds I've gained since I recorded those.
No, you look good. You look good. You've been working out. But here,
Okay.
we are doing a masterclass.
Yes.
It's our own masterclass.
It's, Art of Communication.
It is 6+ hours on the art of communication
Yes.
presented to you by Aaron McManus. I'm just kidding. Aaron McManus Productions.
All I know is it has Austin's and Brian's and Aaron's and Tessa's blood all over it.
All over it.
There's a lot of
my
sweat and
gosh.
blood to put this thing together.
It's incredible. 6+ hours, you talking into the camera, breaking down communication and the art of.
For probably decades, your mom, my wife, Kim McManus, who has a master's in theology and an education degree, has been begging me to teach communication. She said, this is the most important thing you should do. And she's been begging me to write a book on communication. And I kept saying, it's a very small, narrow audience that would read a book on communication, but I'm probably wrong. And
You were wrong.
so I've never written that book, never taught about it. So this has been the culmination of decades and decades. And one of the things that really provoked me in some ways was it's the number one question I get from people. How did you learn how to communicate? How did you develop this? I remember when we were in New York and all these different pastors were there. And I think it's one of them, your friend Josh,
Yes.
who I think is a brilliant guy.
Yes. Yeah.
And he said, how did you develop such an extensive vocabulary? Remember that?
Yeah.
And I said, Josh, pick one word that I use that's a big word. And they couldn't think of one. I said, it's not that I use big, complex, unknowable words like concretize.
Concretize.
And it's that
That's the name of this episode.
I use really simple words and
In a
form
big
them
way.
in a way that makes it poetic. And so I'm painting pictures with words. I'm not just transferring information with words. So I feel like teaching this masterclass is sort of like a life's work, and it's not done. It's 6 hours and 15 minutes. And if you work your way through all of that, there's a lot further to go. There's more still, but this first 6 hours will take you deep into the space of who you are as a communicator, because I don't see communication as just something you do. It's an extension of who you are. And so there's a huge aspect of the communication masterclass that deals with essence, with who you are, and then how to translate that essence in this higher, I'm gonna use a kind of a phrase, like I really do believe there's almost like a collective consciousness between you and the listeners. And that it's not just about transmitting information, it's about learning how to create the connection between you and the listener at a deeper and more profound, even spiritual level. So it's about going through waves and waves of layers.
And this is not an NFT. This is super fungible. This is a SFT. This is super fungible token. This thing, but this thing is going to be alive.
Yeah.
You're getting 6+ hours.
Mm-hmm.
And like the first 100 people that sign up are getting like a
I'm,
lot. Like,
I'm adding value to that, which
You're
is what
adding
you do
value.
kind of with an NFT,
with
right?
an NFT. But
So I'm treating the masterclass like an NFT for the first 100 or so people.
right.
I'm going to do a session with everyone live that signs up in the first 100.
Right.
We offer some follow-up kind of materials for
Yeah.
them too. And I can't remember even the specifics of it, but
What
we
are the
have
specifics,
it all there.
Tess? Spit
Do
it
you
out.
have them?
I do have them.
Oh.
You will get a virtual live communication masterclass session with you, Pastor
Mhm.
Erwin. You'll get first access and discounts to upcoming events, including a deep dive on-site communication workshop, bonus material to be released over the first year of purchase, and 5 founders discounts you'll be able to gift to the person of your choice. Bonuses not included.
And so, but like we've been coming up with content around this content because this is not just going to be 6 hours. You're
Right.
going to keep building into this. People steal the wrong things from you.
Yes.
They steal the idea and not how you created the idea. And the internal mechanisms that you have developed that you've spent a lifetime refining to build the idea. And this is, if there's ever been communication theory, you know, this is like the ethos, the theory, the culture around your ideology of communication.
Yes. People, because they're in a hurry, steal the pot of water rather than figure out how you dug the well.
How to make fire.
Ooh. Yeah.
But what I love about you and me and our relationship and what you allow me to be is you allow me to be that annoying fly that you're always smacking off your face. And so we've watched it and we've spent 6 months refining it and it's really cool. And we only edited what, 5 minutes
Yeah, I think we took 5 minutes out.
out of the entire thing.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
The entire thing. And
So
it was
it's pretty
only,
raw then.
I think it was only one story.
It was about 2020. We didn't want to like super date it.
Oh, it was 2020.
See, that's how I know
Super
it's
dated.
2020. Don't mess with my memory.
What I love about this.
You're remembering what you wish it was.
Yes. And it will be, this thing is going to be, I think it's super fairly priced. It's 6.5 hours and you're getting all this extra content and benefits, the bonus features, but you're also going to start deep diving into like the practicals.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it is the Louis Vuitton of communication class.
Oof.
I mean, to me, it's the highest level of masterclass that you can access. And so it's not for everyone. And it's only for people who speak.
So everyone speaks every day.
That's right.
So it's for everyone.
So if you never open your mouth and speak, if you never have to transmit an idea, if you never have to convince your husband of a certain direction or your wife or your kids, like to me, communication is the most essential aspect of human development. And so it applies to every area of life.
If that doesn't sell it, I don't know what will. In 1 week time, by the time this is out, there will be a website, there will be a sign-in, and we're going to grow this thing. We're going to keep building this thing.
Yeah. And so yesterday I was talking to 2 communicators,
Yes.
and Joe Smith and David Arcos,
Okay.
and we're having lunch together, and they started asking me questions about communication,
Okay.
and I said, David said, I'm really good at these all calls, these 10-minute talks, and I could feel that I was really present. In fact, Tess came to me and said, there's like an awakening happening inside of you that you're bringing to the room when you're speaking. And he goes, how come I can do that in that 10 minutes and I can't do it in a message on the platform? And I said, it's because you're good at catching one wave, but you don't know how to swim back out to catch the next wave. And I said, when you're on the stage for 30 minutes or more, that message is about surfing multiple waves. And where the message actually gets lost or where it loses its elegance or power is you don't know how to swim back out to the wave in a way that keeps your audience with you. And I said, so you're good at the 10-minute talk because it's just one wave and you write it in. And what people don't realize is that I spend as much time internally structuring how I paddle out to the next wave so that I'm actually taking people with me in a way that they're even more interested before I catch the next wave in. And if you can understand that a message is really a series of waves, and then that the power of that message is actually structured in the way you paddle back out to the next wave.
That
That's
is
really
so good.
So good.
And that's not in the masterclass.
No, but we're gonna put it in there.
And
We're gonna
but to me, these kinds of insights will be in that
at Zoom.
Zoom masterclass with
That forum.
those
Yeah.
who actually purchase equipment. Because when you ask me the questions,
Yeah.
we're going to dive deeper into the questions you have about how to improve your communication gift.
Yeah. And I think we want to make readily these ideas, these concepts that you come up with and helping people like actually execute them. You actually talked about maybe doing a session for pastors, like pre-Easter, to help them prep for their Easter talks.
I did. I thought about doing a session before Easter with pastors, and where I would just spin out a lot of different concepts about Easter from different passages, unwrap different passages, and then they could just take whichever ones inspire them, whichever pieces of them actually work for them for their message. And I'm actually happy to do that. I want to help pastors and spiritual leaders communicate in a more effective and in an artistic way.
Right.
And I want to help them with the engineering of a message and the artistry of a message. And I also want to help business leaders, entrepreneurs, people who speak at other kinds of events, develop their speaking gifts. And
so we'll kind of create those two different tracks inside of this thing.
Yeah, I was just speaking just doing a TV show in Las Vegas, and
for Bloomberg, right?
For Bloomberg Television, and with David Meltzer, who has a new show, and one of the people on his platform. Her name is Jen Gottlieb, and each one of them got to ask me a question. And her first thing was, she looked at me, she goes, "You're the greatest communicator I've ever heard. How did you develop your communication gifts?" Yeah, I couldn't even say communication right. And how do you develop your communication gift?
Yeah.
And I thought, this is the perfect time to come up with this, because every person who is trying to expand their world, develop their talent, or expand their influence, communication is the key. And then Ed Milet, who I did his podcast, and I think he had 6 million people listen to that podcast. One of the first things he ever told me, he goes, "You're one of the greatest communicators in the world." And I look at it and go, I was a shy, introverted kid that showed no potential to ever become a communicator. So I don't know where I fall on the spectrum of, good to great as a communicator, but I do know this. No one saw any raw talent in me. And I was able to harness what I had and develop a skill that at least other great communicators respect. And I hope I can, through this, help raise up some of the greatest communicators on the planet. And I hope I can take some people who are struggling and help them become at least pretty good. But I want to take people who are good, and I want to make them world class. And I think this process is going to help achieve that.
I love it. I'm excited. And that, I think, is a wrap for today.
All right.
This is really cool. I'm really like, this is one of the projects I think I'm most passionate about in our world right now. I think, we do so many cool projects, fashion, we do this podcast, and then we do this masterclass. And I really think if an entire generation watches this thing and goes, like, we will spend thousands of dollars, whether it's on clothes or on college courses, but this thing is so unique and so special. I'm really excited to see what God does with it, what people do with it, and to see it influence this next season of life. I'm really excited.
Yeah, even at the cost, it's less than paying for a university class
Or Mosaic College.
Or any other institutional access you would have to learn how to communicate. And the difference is, when you go to a college to learn how to communicate, you're learning from someone who knows how to teach, but they have never built their career on being a world-class communicator.
Yes.
And so
we were cutting the trailer for this thing this week, and my one note was, because you're talking to a camera. Yeah. You're talking to a camera. It feels like you're speaking to me the entire time. And I'm like, show some arenas. Show the fact that you spoke in front of 40,000 people.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken
multiple times.
Yeah, I've spoken to millions of people around the world. And I think there's a skill set you need to speak to a crowd of 100,000 people.
Right.
And which I've done, and the skill set that you need to speak to a room of 10.
Right.
And you need to develop that span of capacity if you're going to optimize your communication skills.
And see, these are some of the tools to build that foundation for the ability to do that.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to thank the guys in the booth, Tess Roy and Austin St. John, the 2020 crew. Art of communication.
You're a part
Don't
of this.
forget it. You're a part of this. Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode. Rate and review this podcast on Spotify. Rate and review this on Apple Podcast as well. And check us out on YouTube. We have over 3,000 subs on our YouTube channel. Look, it might not be much to y'all, but that's a lot for me. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
I mean, to think that this is a milestone. We broke it. We also broke 1 million listens, and we're about to break 10,000 on Instagram. Look at me.
Come on now.
I was just chilling in my apartment during COVID when one night I created Bad Ready Podcast on Instagram because I was bored. I could not do anything else. I couldn't do Call of Duty. I couldn't cook anymore. I was over it. I had to do something fun. So thank you guys for being a part of this journey, and we love that you listen. We love that you're engaged. We love the DMs. We love the clapbacks. We love it all. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Dad.
All right.